everyone, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we'll be taking a look at Voyager class Inferno from Transformers Power of the Primes. Inferno is a repaint slash remold of Hotspot from Combiner Wars, which was 2 series ago. But it's a really nice repaint. Originally I said I wasn't going to buy this figure because I already have the, I think it was Gold Box at the time, or Generations, whatever was the line going at the time, for classic Inferno with the kind of large belly and then the legs and the arms that was repainted into grapple as well. And that's a nice figure, and I do like that figure, and I was going to just be content with that as my Classics Inferno. But I don't know, this just is a really nice repaint. I like the brighter red. That Inferno is kind of more of a maroon, which I always felt was a little too dark for the character. He's really like a bright red fire engine, so I feel like they captured that nicely with this guy. And, I mean, Hotspot was a good mold, so I don't mind having it again. And they really, I feel like, nailed the head sculpt. I just wish he had those things on the side of his head that, that he had in the cartoon. But what are you going to do? So, I also like his combined mode. I like the colors that they have going for it there. I think that's pretty cool. So here on the back it says, "How will the fearless Autobot firefighter wield the power of the primes?" I like this pose. I think it's pretty good. Love the robot mode. The vehicle mode I think looks pretty good. Definitely doesn't look so much like classic, or I should say G1 Inferno's, fire truck mode, but it's fairly close. I think it looks pretty decent. And then over here you have, I'm assuming these are the 3 Prime Masters for Wave 3, which I have not found yet. Solaris Prime, Quintus Prime, and Megatronus. So I will be on the lookout for those. This is the first Wave 3 thing that I found, which is another reason I bought it. Same thing it did to me with the black and purple version of Hot Rod and Rodimus. Rodimus Unicronus, I think that was called. When it's the first thing, I'm hungry for a new Transformer. I haven't had Transformers in a while because Wave 2 kind of came out way early, and then just a vast desert of Transformer releases since I'm not really excited about the movie line. So this just was like, I need a new Transformer, and this was the first one I could find. But I think it looks pretty good. I'm actually pretty excited about it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get him out of the packaging here, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so Inferno comes with everything you see here. First off, we'll start off with a little Autobot Enigma, which is just a nice way of saying Prime Master that does not transform. It's hollow inside there, but it can fit into anywhere that the Prime Masters can fit into, so you can pop it into one of these feet attachments, and then you can push through from the back to get it to pop out. I like the color scheme, though. I think the black looks pretty good with the blue. Nice combination of colors. So these things don't impress me a whole lot, but hey, here we have one. You have these 2 feet pieces. I believe these are the same 2 that came with Grimlock. They have this piece on the back so he could hold these if he wanted to. I don't know why he would want to, but he could. And they have somewhere for them to peg in vehicle mode, which we'll take a look at when we get there. And then he has these 2 guns, which I believe are the exact same 2 guns that Hotshot came with. Or Hotspot. It's Hotspot, isn't it? I'm sorry. The leader of the Protectobots is Hotspot. I keep saying Hotshot because, Armada and whatnot, but Hotspot. But anyway, so these are the same 2 guns. You can peg them together to make one giant gun, although that looks silly in my opinion. See, if you could peg them together like this, which it almost looks like you can, but you can't. But if you could peg them together like this, I would be interested in that. But he holds them well enough. They just peg into his hands. And I think he looks good wielding them. There we go. I'll zoom out here so you can actually see him holding them. And then here is the little card that he comes with. Interesting artwork there. And he is Onyx Inferno, locates trapped disaster victims by instinct. Hey, that's a pretty good power for a rescue vehicle to have, so well done. Nice, pretty thick cardboard, makes them collectible and fun. So, huzzah, card. So, I'll put this off to the side with the other cards that I don't do anything with. Here is Inferno. And like I said, I think he looks pretty good. He's definitely a repaint slash remold of Hotspot. Very, very similar. I would say mostly just the color scheme and the head sculpt is new. But let's get a closer look at that head sculpt so you can see I think it looks pretty good. Very G1 Inferno-esque. The only thing that would be better, like I said, if he had those little white wings that he usually has on the side of his head. But otherwise, it's pretty good. Very fun. Like I said in the earlier part, he is a much needed bright red fire truck. I think when I think of Inferno, I think of that bright red color scheme. And the original Classics version had that kind of darker maroon, which didn't look terrible. But I definitely think, when you think of a fire truck, you think of a bright red fire truck. I mean, from your youngest age as a kid, you know, you think of big red fire truck, you know what I mean? And I know some of them are maroon, some of them are more red, but I just think the brightness makes it fun, makes it more exciting, in my opinion. I know it probably sounds dumb, but he looks good. It's definitely a nice reuse of this mold. I definitely like the two guns. I think that looks good. He does have this kind of giant ladder backpack, but it kind of acts as a nice third wheel because he has no heels whatsoever. So it makes him have no trouble standing whatsoever. So in that regard, it's actually pretty nice. Articulation-wise, head can move from side to side and up and down a little bit. Limited ball joint there, mostly side to side. Nice ratchet there in the shoulder. And then in the inside of the shoulder, you have out to the side movement. You have a swivel right above the elbow. And then you kind of have two elbow. I guess I should say, this is his, in my opinion, proper elbow, the red joint. But then you have a second kind of bicep elbow. And that's for the transformation into the torso mode. But I would say the down here at the red joint is kind of his proper elbow. So you have two elbows and a swivel in between. So nice bit of articulation there. You can get some good poses. Nothing in the waist, but you have out to the side and front to back. Nice ratchet there for the hip, thigh swivel. And then you have a joint here for the knee. Now, there is some goofiness with the knee. We will take a look at that when we get into the transformations, because you'll see what I mean when we get there. But overall, yeah, I think he looks good. You can see he's got some stickers down here. He's got some stickers here in the crotch. Autobot sticker here right below his head. Otherwise, it's pretty much all paint. There's not a ton of stickers on this guy. He's got a fire emblem, fire engine sticker there, fire department sticker, which we'll see more in vehicle mode. But for the most part, he's mostly paint, which I do appreciate. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to take his accessories away from him, and we will get into the transformation to his fire engine mode. Okay, so if you've dealt with Hotspot, you're probably fairly familiar with this transformation. It's actually pretty easy. You can kind of just put the arms out here up to the side for a moment. You're going to start off with that weird knee that I was talking about. So when you pop this out, and if you have it done correctly, it'll click into place in the knee. So you need to unclick it. And then you can see, and I don't know how easily it's going to be able to see this, but there's a joint. You can see that there's a hinge here. There's a hinge there, and there's a hinge there. So you want this bottom part of the black piece to be clicked all the way in here for the knee. For the transformation, you're going to bring this down so that it fits like this and clicks in down here so that this part is all flush. And you're going to do that with both sides here. And I'm going to zoom out. And it can be a little difficult because they do like to click in there pretty solidly. Just be careful. You don't want to use too much force because you don't want anything to break or snap. But you can get this to snap in as it should. So then you'll have this little shorty leg syndrome. And you're going to go back to this for the torso mode as well, but we'll get there. Next, you're going to pull this part out. You can see it has a little clip there, which clips onto the black piece. So you just unclip it from that. Then you're going to spin it around. You're going to open up these side pieces, and it's actually pretty cool. You can see this big peg here pegs into that peg hole in this configuration. So that keeps that kind of in line, or in it keeps it together for the backpack mode. You're going to stretch this out, and then you're going to spin this around. And this is going to be the full part of the ladder here for the fire engine mode. You can fold these back up. So what you're going to do now is you're going to come here, open up the chest, fold the head in, close that up, fold this down. And it's very tiny to see. I guess if I lift this up, you can see it better. So on this red piece, you can see there's 2 tab inlets, one on each side. And there are these little tabs here on the shoulders. So this tab here on the arm is going to peg into that tab hole there, like that. And you're going to bring up the arms and do that for both. Then you're going to turn them around. And then you're going to put this all the way down. So what you need to do is get this tab into that, while at the same time making sure these 2 tabs here don't kind of conflict with each other. Because I had some initial trouble trying to get this to peg in, and it was because those 2 tabs on the inside were not meshing well with each other. So just make sure these are all compatible, and then it should all come together. And that'll all hold together. That's the back part of the fire engine. So once you have that done, you're pretty much all the way done. You're going to take these sections and kind of drop them down and rotate this around. Now this part you have to be a little careful because these will peg together. I kind of like to do it down like this so that you can peg all this together. Actually, I guess that doesn't really work. It's just difficult because once you have these all together, then you have to rotate it up, and it's hard to show off. But right there on the inside, that has to like click into place. So now it's clicked into place, if you can see that. I know it's hard to see. Maybe if I can get some more light in there. So you can see the tabs in there have to click in. But once that's all done, hold on, what did I do wrong here? This should be farther back, shouldn't it? Oh, I'm sorry, I did do this wrong. Okay, hold on. You spin this around, and then this folds like this. And sits there, and then you fold these back up. There we go. And the front doesn't always like to stay together because of that weird connection there in the crotch. I mean, it'll stay together for the most part, but it's not 100% perfect, I have to be honest. So here is the fire engine mode, which I do have to admit is probably my least favorite. Again, it's not terrible. It just seems kind of long and spread out, and mine doesn't want to stay together. But I do like the stickers. You got the FD fire department sticker there, and you have some stickers up here, which we've kind of seen previously. But now you can take these pieces, pull this out, and then peg these into the side here, if you'd like to do that. I mean, it's just storage. I don't think it needs it, so I just leave them off. And if you want to, you could also peg the gun in there. You could peg the gun in over here. So you have some options. So technically you could fit both. It's a little difficult to get these to peg in because that piece wants to rotate in. But you could have both if you want to really load them up. So, like I said, this is a decent mode. It rolls okay. Not the best, but... And this can still rotate. You can lift this up. If you open this up a little bit, you can lift it up even more. So if you need them to fight a fire, and these can bend. And then you have the water cannon up here. So, not bad. I like the white ladder and the red truck. I don't know, it just seems a little thin to me. But overall, not a bad mode. Alright, so now we're going to transform into the torso mode. So you can start by folding these back down and kind of bring this up and just kind of get it out of the way. You're going to open up the legs. You kind of want to push them, pull them down just a smidge, and then you can rotate them out. Flip these back up. And then you're pretty much just going to push these to the side. And that's it. That is the leg mode. So let's shift this up a bit. You're going to want to open these up so you can unpeg from this section. And then you're going to want to bring this down and close these back up just temporarily. Bring the arm pieces down, unpeg them. Bring this down, and then you're going to use that double elbow joint that we talked about. And you can see that there's a peg hole right there, and that's going to peg into this peg here. So you rotate these up, and it should line up right under that top peg. So unpeg it from the top, bring this in. Now this one, because it has the extra peg right there, that's going to peg into that peg hole there. So otherwise, it's exactly the same as the other one. So those are pegged in. Now you can see that there's a nice tab slot there, and that's going to tab onto that tab there. So when you close these back up, they're going to peg into these shoulder pieces and really shore up this torso section, which is nice. Then you're going to bring this down. You want to make a little bit of space because this is actually going to go underneath his crotch and then bend again like that. And then these two tabs right here and here are going to tab in right there and there. So you bring this down, and that tabs in really solidly, and then you can kind of bring the legs back together. So I would say between these two panels pegging into the shoulders here and the head pegging into the top, it really makes this a pretty solid torso. Then you're going to fold this down and then flip this part on top and then rotate the head 180 degrees. And boom, there is the torso mode for Inferno. Nice color scheme. I think the white really pops. I like that. I like the head sculpt. The yellow eyes work. You have a little bit of red and black in there. I'm glad it's not just solid black. I think that might have been too much. I kind of like the little pop of red for the helmet. Nice silver paint all throughout here, and this belt piece here to kind of give that a cohesive look. I like that a lot. Not too much kibble on the back, I have to say. Pretty solidly done. If you would like, you can take these gun pieces. Oh, I thought they pegged in. I'm wrong. Never mind. Don't listen to me. I guess technically you could peg them in like this, but it seems like a waste. For some reason I thought they mounted here. I apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. You have to fold these little covers up, or fold them down so you can fit the arms in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring in some random arms and legs so we can take a look at this. Alright, so here he is with some random combiner limbs. I really like it. I think he's a nice solid torso. You really don't see too much of the Inferno mold like hanging off. There's not really any kibble. You don't see like arms that are very apparent from him or legs that are very apparent from him. His legs very nicely become thighs and his arms hide well behind there. So pretty excellently done. You can take his two guns and put them together if you want and give them to the robot to hold. So he has a giant gun like that. Now, unfortunately on mine, the leg connectors are really loose. And I don't know if that's just because of how many times they've made these pieces, so they just don't connect that well, or if the connections on these two are just kind of loose. I'm not really sure. I mean, it holds together. If I had two more hands handy, I would peg them into the back just to give him more stability. But, I mean, it's working. You know, he's not falling over. I think he looks good. Honestly, I think his torso mode is very cohesive. Love the color scheme, and overall, it's just pretty solid. I like it a lot. I think Inferno is a pretty solid repaint. When I first heard him announced, I thought, that's an easy pass. I don't need another version of Hotspot. I already have a version of Inferno, so this was an easy pass for me. But I saw him today in the store, and just in person, he looked pretty good. It's a nice bright red fire truck, which is really fun. It's a nice homage to Inferno. The head sculpt is good. Yeah, I think he's fun. I also kind of forgot what a solid mold Hotspot was. The robot mode is great. I think the torso mode is really solid. The fire truck mode is not amazing. You know, I've seen better. It seems a little loose or kind of stretched out and thin in areas, but it's passable. It rolls decently. I think it works. It's not a terrible transformation, so I can give it a pass on the vehicle mode. While the vehicle mode is probably my least favorite of the three modes, it's not a big deal. The torso mode is very solid, and the robot mode is also very solid. Minor complaints. Because this was made for Combiner Wars and not Power of the Primes, there's not a chest type spot to plug this into the torso, which makes total sense. You could still plug it into one of the feet pieces if you wanted to, but Grimlock and Starscream / Elita 1 have a spot where you can kind of plug this into the chest when you're in the torso mode, and this guy doesn't have it. Hunger doesn't really either because he's also built from a Combiner Wars toy, so not a huge problem, just something to bring up. And I'm really bummed that these feet connectors are so loose in the feet that I use. Now again, the ratchet here is pretty solid. These pieces down here, you know, that connection is pretty solid. It's just when you plug these in, it's just really loose. I'm not really sure why. Here's the Moon Racer that I was using. When you plug it in, I mean, it plugs in and it'll hold. It's not going to fall out. But it really, like, it spins around really loose, as you can see. And I don't know why that is. It's really a shame. But, I mean, it doesn't fall out, so it's not a huge problem. But you just have to be a little careful when you're posing them. And I don't know why that is. Maybe mold fatigue. We'll have to wait and see. But I recommend him. Whereas I previously thought he was a definite pass for me, I've actually kind of grown to love him, and I'm glad I picked him up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.